What's up, everybody? This is the Totally Average Gaming Podcast where we go over games and stuff about games.
Just two average guys sharing their vast knowledge about games and stuff.
And pies. I had to throw a rhyme in there.
I just like the snowflakes.
So we want to start this episode by going over our thoughts on Mass Effect Andromeda so far. So we'll go with your opinion first.
I have a hell of a lot less time than you do. I have about 6 hours in the game, which I know is nothing. Don't know what percentage I'm at. I like it so far. I have a lot more time in the game than my hours show because I spent a lot of time on multiplayer. I just thought I was bad at it at first. I thought maybe if I leveled up my character, things would get easier. But now I'm sitting pretty at like a level 6 character on multiple people, and it's not helping me in the slightest. It's impossible in my opinion. Out of 10 games or so that I've played, I have only won one, and I wasn't even a part of that winning because I died in the last round. And the only reason we won is because some kid was Rambo, and he was glitching up and out of everywhere.
So you got a partial extraction?
Yeah, so other than that, I like the game. I haven't faced anything hard in the campaign yet, which I know you have, which I'm not looking forward to because hard games make my panties tighten up. And I'm not a fan of that. I don't like hard games.
I like the multiplayer maybe a little bit better than you do. I have had a few pleasant experiences. I think it's an excellent idea. I burped.
Yeah, same here.
Fuck.
It's fine. Just say I think it's an excellent idea.
I think it's an excellent idea for multiplayer, but there are definitely some bugs that need to be worked out. I've played a little bit more than you have because played just matchmaking by myself. I've so far only found one character that I'm good with. I don't want to say necessarily only one character that I like, but I've only been good with the male infiltrator. Well, I guess infiltrator. I've tried the Turian soldier, and it just doesn't work for me. But I like the abilities. I like being able to. There's a lot of customization, a lot of weapons you can unlock, all that stuff. I like how each character has their own abilities.
I think the abilities are my favorite part.
Yeah, the ability part of it's really cool. So I think it's a really cool idea for a multiplayer. I just think there's some bugs that need to be worked out. There's bugs in the campaign too. I have about double the time you do in the campaign, and I've had a lot of fun with it. I see what everyone was talking about with the bugs, sort of, but it's nothing that, for me, it's nothing that ruins the game. I would probably give it an 8 out of 10. 9 out of 10 fun-wise, 8 out of 10 story-wise, 5 out of 10 mechanics-wise. I just think there's definitely some things that could be fixed. I think they will be. A couple of the reviews I watch, because I like to watch reviews before I buy games, even though it sometimes ruins it for me. But a lot of the reviews said they would wait until it goes on sale or wait until they fix the bugs to buy it, and I would agree with that. I'm glad I bought it though. It's fun.
See, that's why I'm waiting to put more time into it because I'm hoping, because I haven't seen any bugs yet. I've seen the facial animations and how they're kind of wonky, but none of that really matters to me. It's not like I was on the edge of playing it until I saw the facial animations and I was like, I'm done, and got out.
Yeah, see, that's kind of what I was saying. For me, the bugs that I've seen are nothing that ruins the game for me. So one of the reviews I watched was like acting like a few texture issues and things like that completely ruin the game, and I don't think it does because the fighting is still good. All that stuff's still good. Just sometimes, like for instance, there's when the enemy, quote unquote enemy, sends in reinforcements and they have a drop ship. One enemy will drop out and he'll get like stuck in the air for a second, or like you said with the facial animations, they're cheesy and look weird, and the dialogue's a little weird. But
I think it's the weakest story out of the three.
See, I don't have much experience with the first three. This is really the first one I've actually gotten into. I played the first one a little bit, but I was like 16, so I don't even I don't even think I knew what I was doing when I played it, but I remember having fun with it. And when they were releasing stuff for this one, I read that it was a completely different story. So you didn't really need to know the first three. So I picked it up, and I really like it so far. A lot of people say there's too much talking, but you always have the square button.
Yeah, you can
And
always skip through it.
what I do is I just turn on subtitles, because I can read faster than they speak, so I know the story, but I don't have to sit there through, like, because if you watch the whole cutscene, you have to watch them like walk from one side of the room to there. So I don't do that stuff, but
Well, and this is one of the games that I will actually skip cutscenes because I'm a little late to the scene, but I'm going through Bioshock, the collection, and I would not want to skip through those cutscenes just because they're so cinematic and they're so well done, and the story is so interesting that it makes you want to stay. But I've noticed in Mass Effect so far, I don't really care about the story. I don't really care about the characters. They seem generic when compared to Shepard. I didn't get to play Mass Effect when they first came out because I was a PS3 guy, and I don't think Mass Effect came to PS3 until the collection came out. And I put maybe 10 hours in 2 and maybe 8 hours in 3, which I know isn't enough time to like evaluate a game, but I got a good idea of what it was like. And so far, I think the characters are harder to get attached to than Shepard. Like with Shepard, he was cool looking. I like the voice actor. I think the voice actor in this game sounds similar to him, which is kind of off-putting. But I guess that's a weird thing to compare it to. I don't know. It seems to like it just throws you right in.
yeah, the story isn't great. It's not immersive. It's a very generic storyline, I think, and it kind of seems like there's like a failed attempt to get you involved with the characters. Like there's like weak backstories to each character that you could tell it's like trying to make you care. Spoiler alert. Basically, the overarching story is, you're the Pathfinder, and you're basically just you have a ship full of people, and I'm sorry, you go to the Nexus, which is basically like a floating
Capital.
space station full of people, and you're trying to go out and make planets viable for them to live on. And for me, I think, because I'm not really a big story guy, unless when it comes to like The Last of Us. Obviously, I was obsessed with that story. The Witcher obviously has an excellent story, but 9 times out of 10, I'm not a big story guy. So that's why I give it an 8 out of 10, even though I'm criticizing it because I don't really care. Someone who cares about story might give it a 2 out of 10, because it's pretty weak. Like I said, for me, the overarching story would be enough. You got to find a home for these people, go out and explore the planets, but they just try to make it seems like a weak attempt at giving all these characters backstories and trying to make you care about it when some people might, but I really don't. I guess that's just personal preference.
I think that's a problem with people trying to do open world games. Like I said before, I didn't put a lot of time into the other games, but this one just seems a lot more open world, and there's not really something telling you where to go. And I feel like when they do that, you tend to lose out on story, because if you don't do everything, you lose story. But in the old games, it kind of was like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. From what I can remember, like I said, it's been a while, and I may just be making things up, but I don't like games that don't help you. And which is very ironic because I think Breath of the Wild is, my favorite game so far this year. And I understand it's only March, but because that game doesn't tell you what to do at all, and it doesn't hold your hand, but it doesn't have a story. So it's not like you're missing out on things as you're playing it. But this game, it seems like if you don't know exactly what you're doing, you're kind of just killing a bunch of people for no reason. It's like, oh, these guys are bad. Why are they bad? They are. Go have fun. Here's some powers. Shoot one in the face with a laser beam.
That's kind of how I mean, I agree. But for me, that doesn't really take anything away. Like I said, I think if they just made the overarching story the main story, That's kind of why I don't really pay too much attention to the cutscenes. I'm not really too worried about it, but I think overall it's a good game. Hopefully they fix some of the bugs, even though it doesn't really affect me at all. But I would say overall I'd give it an 8 out of 10, which pretty much jives with what everybody else gave it. But I would give it a little higher because I think the IGN gave it a 7.6 or something. I would give it an 8 just because I don't really care about the bugs.
I think the guns and the stuff you can do, like not magic, what are they called?
Like biotic powers and
Yeah,
stuff.
I think those make the game. I feel like if it didn't have those biotic powers, it would be a shit game.
That's one thing. Mass Effect has always been very original. I mean, you're not going to find anything like Mass Effect.
And there's so many.
Yeah,
I mean, there's like 30 from what I like looked at.
30 power. Oh yeah, like 30 powers you can choose from. It gives you complete like. Even if you get to the point where you completely level up an ability, you can go back and switch. Like, oh no, I don't like these biotic powers anymore. Now I want to be more tech, and you just buy 3 tech abilities, and then you can switch your profile so you're not an adept anymore. You're a soldier, and it makes like your tech abilities better. There's a lot of stuff you can do. It's really good.
Okay, so I have a question for you. What is your opinion on the soldier part? Because from what I've seen, I don't like any of the soldier like abilities, like the grenades and stuff. It seems like, oh, you have one grenade, and once you use it, you legit have to find an ammo box.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. I have one tech ability, which is a stun blast or concussion blast, and then I have 2 biotic abilities, throw and Nova. Stun blast is good because it's just like almost like an orb you shoot out, so it recharges. You don't have to find ammo. Throw is a biotic power, which I have maxed out now. So there's almost no cooldown time. And then Nova is like a smash ability. It helps if you like jump in the air, go toward the middle of the enemies, and then press your ability button. You like smash the ground. I've got that maxed out too, and it basically just obliterates anyone that's in the radius. I've never been a big fan of the soldier abilities. My multiplayer character has one soldier ability, sticky grenade, I think, and I haven't got it leveled up very far, so maybe it gets better when you can increase your maximum. When you can increase your maximum that you can carry and stuff like that. But as of right now, I would say soldier is probably my least favorite of the 3. I definitely like tech and biotic powers the best.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think on my character, I don't know what it's exactly called, so I'm kind of just making up a name here. But it's one of the purple ones, which I'm not exactly 100% sure what that's called, but it's
Biotic.
Okay. And you throw like a laser spear at them, and that one's pretty cool. The only problem I have with that one is that it doesn't like automatically aim on somebody. You legit have to like hit them, which I mean is all right. It does a lot of damage. But then I think the other one I have is the concussion blast as well. And then,
I think you start out with concussion blast, and then it gives you the opportunity if you want to change. So once you level up the first time, you have points. You could change your ability if you want to. I kept concussion blast because I really liked it, and then I just started leveling up biotic powers. But both of my powers that shoot projectiles seek out the person, so I don't actually have to shoot it at them, which makes it better.
yeah, I do like the concussion blast because it's one of those powers that you can stack. Because what I normally do is I hit them with a concussion blast, and then when they're sitting there kind of like delusional, that's when I go and do like my attacks. I melee a lot. It's not like I don't like my weapons or anything. I don't know, there's just something fun about feeling powerful. And the guns do all right. I normally use my weapons when I'm facing like an enemy with like a shield or...
I rarely use my guns unless I'm fighting like a whole group of enemies, but I just faced a boss last night that was awful. So you basically needed to conserve ammo on little enemies, so your abilities come into play there. Overall, I think they made things work out pretty well. So I like the game so far.
Yeah, I think me and you are kind of sitting at the same score. I'd also give it probably an 8 out of 10, even though I hate scoring games. Because I feel like scores, they don't really tell you exactly what's in the game. Because I've noticed if you read reviews, sometimes it can sound like he's actually really liking the game, and then they give it like a 7 or 7.6, as in like IGN's. And the thing is weird about scores is it seems like if a game is an 80 or above, then it's a failure. Like the scoring system is really it's really flawed because 70 is considered good. And when people see a 7.6, they think, "Oh my god, the game's bad. It has to be bad." And I feel like that's not the case here. I feel like it's a good game, which is 7.6. It's not great, but it's worth your $60 because there's a lot of content, and it's not the type of content where you're like slugging through it. It does have its flaws, but what game doesn't?
Pretty much every game
Yeah.
now has flaws until they release the patch. But one thing just about what you were saying, I totally just blanked. Just pause it. Just about what you were saying about not liking scores. One thing, so when I read the IGN review before I bought Mass Effect, they gave it a 7.6. The headline for the review was like, Mass Effect offers a vast open world exploration game that often fails to capture the magic of past Mass Effect games. So I almost feel like this game was kind of set up for failure because in the minds of the reviewer, because they liked the first 3 Mass Effect games so much. So now when they're reviewing this one, they're like, well, it wasn't like that in the first Mass Effect. It wasn't like that in the third Mass Effect. So to me, after playing the game, I think if Mass Effect Andromeda had been the first game in the series, it probably would have gotten like a 9 out of 10.
Oh yeah.
But because the people before played, the first 3, and that was a different time where companies didn't release games until they were ready to be released. So
and they had a full team of the experts.
Yeah. So you didn't have these bugs, I'm doing air quotes because I don't really think they're that big of a deal. You didn't have these textures problems that people claim they see, or these wacky face animations, which take nothing away from the game. So everybody's like, comparing it to an old game when things change. So I think it was kind of set up for failure. So that's kind of how. So I wouldn't say I disagree with IGN's review, but I think if you just look at it at the surface and see, 7.6, you might think, that's a terrible game, but it's just they were comparing it to probably the best 3, arguably the best 3 series of games, at least top 5, I would say.
Yeah.
Most people would agree the Mass Effect series is probably top 5 series, next to Halo, Call of Duty,
Bioshock,
Gears of War, maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess it just I guess it just depends. But all right, well, I feel like we've covered that topic enough. So time to move on to our next topic, which is talking about how much games have changed, specifically via DLC. So it almost feels like to me, with originally it was just Call of Duty made the switch, and then it seems like more and more games have gone to Destiny was really bad. Things like that. You buy the original game, and it's basically like a tenth of what they want it to be, and they just release these games. I guess maybe it was. I don't know if they're taking a page out of the book of World of Warcraft, where you just keep buying expansions or what. But it seems like when you buy a game, you're really only getting a tenth of what they want the game to be, and then they're just releasing DLC after DLC, getting you to pay $20 or $50 for a season pass, things like that, so you can get the full experience. And I think it's a little cheap because most of these game companies are doing fine on sales. I mean, Call of Duty pretty much outsells every game every year, and they still feel like they need to sell a season pass with it. I think it's just a little. Well, obviously, it's working for them, but I feel like it almost alienates a certain group of people who maybe like the game but don't love it, don't want to spend that extra $50 on the season pass, so maybe they don't get the full experience as everyone else, which I think is a little I don't know. I don't want to say unfair, but it just seems a little cheap. Like especially with with the whole Modern Warfare remastered thing, they're re-releasing a DLC that came out for Xbox 360 10 years ago and making you pay $5 more than you had to pay 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's even after you bought the season pass for Infinite Warfare, which they already forced you to buy in order to get Call of Duty Modern Warfare remastered. So basically, it's just a whole train of we're not satisfied with the money you're already spending, so we're going to make you spend more. It's just a frustrating situation, and I guess it's weird for me to complain about it because I bought Infinite Warfare for Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered, and I bought the season pass. So I guess I don't really have any room to complain. It just seems like I'm just kind of speaking on behalf of all gamers. It seems like a kind of like a cheap way to get more money out of people when you know your game isn't going to do very well. I mean, I downloaded Advanced Warfare the other day, and it's better than Infinite Warfare. We've both been playing Black Ops 3 more lately, and it's better than Advanced Warfare.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, better than Infinite Warfare. So it's just, I think they knew the game was going to fail from day one. So this is just their way of sort of making up for lost revenue or something. But it's just, there are so many things about it I have a problem with. Again, it doesn't really make sense for me to complain about it because I partook in the money. But for someone, maybe for like a 16-year-old kid or 15-year-old kid who
Hasn't really played the other ones.
hasn't really played the other ones or has to depend on someone else to buy the stuff for them. I have money of my own. I can go and buy them. And if I want to be a dumbass and spend my money on that, then that's on me. But, a kid gets it for Christmas and doesn't get the whole game. I just think it's stupid. What do you think?
The thing that really kind of irks me is I know we're talking about a lot about Call of Duty because this seems like the main one that is kind of screwing you. Like the DLC and like The Witcher, it was actual extra gameplay. And that game was already 100 plus hours to play. So you already got your money's worth. And they're like, well, if you want to spend an extra $20 or whatever, we're going to give you an extra 20 hours. And it was like new worlds. It wasn't just like, oh, you get 5 extra missions and maybe you'll get to see 2 new pairs of boobs. And like, that's it doing it right. That's DLC done how it's supposed to be done. Call of Duty, what kind of pisses me off is you got 1 free map pack on Modern Warfare Remastered. Do you remember that? We got like 4 maps, or maybe not even that many, but we got a couple extra maps for free. It was like Shipment, I think Christmas Crash. I don't know if that's still on there, and I can't remember what the other ones were off the top of my head, but they kind of tricked us into like, oh, it's going to be free. And you're like, okay, that's awesome. And I thought that's because we had the deals, or we had the season pass. For some reason, my idiotic brain thought that they were nice enough to not see how far they could put their fingers down our throats. But now they're like, okay, this is the variety map pack. We're doing the exact same thing. And they're like, well, you only spent $20 on the game. And I'm like, well, you only remastered the game. It's not that hard. And everyone wants to attack other remastered games for releasing for $60 that don't really add anything. And yeah, I agree with that. But those remastered games normally have like extra stuff. So like the BioShock collection, that's 3 games for $60. When normally it's, if you want to look at it, it's $180 deal. And I think I'm trying to think what other remasters.
Don't you get expansions and DLCs?
Yeah, you get all of the in the BioShock collection. You have there's I think 3 expansions for BioShock 1, 2 for BioShock 2, and 3 for BioShock Infinite, which is crazy if you think about it. There's so much content there for $60, and it's that's why it's my favorite series of all time, because it's a great game, and they have good DLC. I think the first and second one don't really have that good of DLC. I think the first one has the worst DLC because it's like, it's not added story. It's like trial rooms. So there's like I haven't even fucked with it because I don't want to. It just sounds even worse because I hate fighting big daddies. But it's like, oh, every room you go into, it's harder and harder enemies that you have to face. So that doesn't seem interesting to me at all. But it's not like, oh, you could possibly get a new gun. I'm like, the bitch, that should have been in there in the first place.
I think what it comes down to with this issue is you can easily, very quickly draw a comparison and see which companies are desperate and which companies are doing well for themselves. So if you look at Blizzard, who started with, I don't know for sure if they started with World of Warcraft. They might have had stuff before that, but they got big and famous off World of Warcraft. And then they moved on to another big franchise with them is Diablo. Now they've got Overwatch, and they release all the DLC on Overwatch. The characters, all that. Pretty much, once you buy Overwatch, you get everything.
Yeah.
They don't nickel and dime you. You get the full game. Every new character. I don't think they've released new maps, at least not since I've had it. I didn't get it day one, but
yeah, the new map is the one that's in Afghanistan.
Oh yeah,
there's like 3 new maps since it first came out.
The one they just released one too. Wait, never mind, I'm an idiot. But and then you have Call of Duty who releases, or Activision, I guess it would be, which is owned by Blizzard. Yeah. So it's ironic, but I have a feeling Activision's making the decisions on that front. Now I don't know if it's an attempt by Blizzard. Now, I don't know if it's an attempt by Blizzard to maybe save their something that they own that is failing, and maybe they need to make more money with that part of their business. But I have a feeling it's more of like a Blizzard does their own thing over here, and Activision makes their decisions because it's just I don't see Blizzard being so.
I think it's part of their company. It's not their company, so they don't care. They just get the money from it.
Yeah, so I think maybe I don't know all the ins and outs, but I just think it's ironic, the difference,
and like quality control for both companies. Blizzard is, and I always say it all the time. There is not one company that is for the player. I think Blizzard is one of those, because the reason why I talk about the DLC from Blizzard is because they're not DLC, they're like expansions. It's because they give you stuff. The Call of Duty, if you quote unquote expansions, it's just 4 new maps. Like now with Infinite Warfare, you get a zombie map, but before that, Treyarch was the only one that gave you bang for your buck, because it wasn't more expensive to get a Treyarch map pack than it was another Call of Duty map pack, and that one came with a full-fledged like zombie map, and that had more like story in it than most of the Call of Duty games had.
I do like Infinite Warfare zombies though. I gotta give them credit on that. When I first saw the game, I was like, they're gonna try to do zombies and it's gonna be horrible.
Like Advanced Warfare?
Yeah, it's gonna be awful, and I'm not gonna want to play it, and it's just gonna be it. But it's fun. I like the whole theme. I like the music. I like everything about it. I haven't played much of Raven the Redwood.
It's because it's so hard.
Yeah. I can't get a good group together to play with. I mean, not a good group as in a talented group. Like, I just can't get
like a
people I enjoy playing with.
Yeah.
Because, our friend that we play with all the time doesn't have the DLC, so it's tricky. But Zombies in Spaceland, I would put that probably in my top 5 overall zombie maps of all time.
Yeah.
Obviously, it'd probably be 5. The other,
but
the others would be from Black Ops 2. Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's really good. I really like it.
All right, moving on to our next topic. We have loot boxes and how annoying they actually are. And to get this one rolling, I want to give a good example of how loot boxes are done. And I know
I think not to cut you off, I think it's just microtransactions in general for games that aren't free to play.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
A game that does it very well, and I know we've been praising this game this whole podcast, is Overwatch. Overwatch does it the perfect way because it's there. It doesn't affect the game whatsoever. It's only skins. It's not like you can see the skins. You can't really show off your emblems, and no one's gonna be like, "Oh man, that was a cool paint you had on the ground." I mean, like,
It's just something cool to kind of add, like, oh, I have a cool Reinhardt skin. Oh, I
Yeah.
have a cool Winston skin. It doesn't change the game at all.
yeah, you're not gonna be more powerful. And the thing I like about it is the reason I don't mind them in the game is because the money that they get from that, which is a lot of money. They're I think $1 billion, $2 billion. Like this game is $2 billion like revenue for them. They use that money to give us free DLC. That's the way it needs to be done, and that's why people considered Overwatch the game of the year is because yeah, it was multiplayer only. And yeah, that's why people dog the hell out of, Battlefront and Titanfall 1. Oh, it didn't have a single player. This one has probably one of the greatest multiplayer games, or it's one of the greatest multiplayer games I've ever played in my entire life.
I would take that multiplayer over any multiplayer.
Yeah, it's so perfectly well balanced. That money goes towards new characters. Anyone can use them. I haven't spent a single dime on that game. I have as much as everyone else does. I may not have that sweet, Winter Winston skin that I played, 20 hours to try and get to save up for, but that doesn't matter. That didn't take away from my experience. It didn't make me angry. I wasn't mad that I didn't get enough money because I know I didn't put any more money into it than the $60 that I paid. And I've gotten 4 free maps. Well, I'm throwing out a number there. It could be 2 or 3. I don't know. I've gotten, Anna, Arisia, Sombra. Who else?
I'm not sure. See, because I bought the game late. So when I bought the game, it already had Anna, whatever.
Okay, so we'll just say 3. That's 3 characters, and we'll just say 4 maps. Like I said, I could be wrong. In Call of Duty terms, you're looking at $40.
yeah,
already.
If they release new characters with new weapons and new skins and new emblems and everything on Call of Duty, you probably have to pay. If you equated it, so let's take what you get in a Call of Duty loot box. You get
emblems.
No, like
calling cards.
Yeah, we'll call those emblems. You get armor. We'll call those skins. You get guns. We'll call those weapons.
Well, you get people too, but they all look the same.
Yeah,
like, this girl's just a little bit lighter.
So
skin.
let's say you wanted to build 3 full characters from Call of Duty loot boxes, you probably have to spend $120, maybe even more, because you could spend $1,000 and not even get a gun.
Yeah, you're not guaranteed anything, and that's the problem. It seems like there's a lot of companies out there who are really money hungry, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's because Call of Duty's failing." They're failing compared to Call of Duty standards, but I'm almost positive, don't quote me on this, that they were still the #1 selling game.
Infinite Warfare?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know for sure.
I don't know what else would be in front of it though. Because they still outsold Battlefield 1.
There's no way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It's ridiculous to think. It was like every month that it was out, they outsold Battlefield 1, which I think Battlefield 1 is a superior game. I'm not a fan of like the mechanics. I feel
I'm
like
not very good at it, but
no,
it's better.
Yeah, it's a better concept. I like what they did with the story in that game, and we're gonna getting off topic, but you also don't really have to rely on paid stuff for that game either, because that's normally just skins. As well for not skins, but like camos for your guns.
Yeah.
You don't have It's not like Battlefield 1 has a paywall there, and they're like, you have to pay $100 to get this new weapon we dropped in. Well, I don't know. I haven't played it. You have recently. I don't think there's any extra guns they have to pay for.
Battlefield?
Yeah.
Honestly, in Battlefield, I just use the guns you get to the beginning.
Yeah.
I don't think I've changed one class.
Well, I've noticed for the assault, all the guns are weaker than the first one you
People
get.
listening, well, not that anybody's really listening, but if anybody does listen to this, they're probably thinking that I'm an idiot, but I don't know. I haven't played enough Battlefield to know what guns are good and what guns aren't. I legitimately have not changed any of my classes, I don't think. I like the guns you get, and I do fine with them.
Yeah.
I think, I go like 28 and 15 with the guns you get, so I'm just like... Because I feel like with that game, once you get used to a gun, you don't want to change it.
No.
and again, we're getting off topic. We're talking about loot boxes, but Battlefield's really good, better than Call of Duty. Anyway, I think the game, and I know we're just bashing Call of Duty, but it just seems like this year that has been the game that you can just tell the way they released everything that they're just desperate. And the way they keep
shadiest release ever.
Shadiest, just everything. And I know they started the whole loot box thing, Black Ops 3. I don't really remember Black Ops 2 if they did that or not, with the whole, we're going to give you, we're going to have these guns, upload them, and put them on the game, and you can see them, so you know they're there, and you can see their stats and see how great they are.
Yeah, they're better than every other.
And everybody's going to kill you with them because they spend money, but you can't get them unless you spend money. It almost feels like, because what do you get? You get 30 keys or 30 black market tokens, and then you can finally buy a box. And what are the chances of getting a gun? And
I probably bought 100 packs. Well, in Black Ops 3, I've probably bought multiple hundreds of packs, and I only have one gun to show for it. But the thing about that game is, from the guns that I've seen on Black Ops 3, they're not any better than the guns that you already have. Because I got the HG40, which is, a spiritual successor to the MP40, and it's good. But the Kuda is just as good. The Vesper is just as good. The VMP is just as good. But it seems like in the new Call of Duty that they're pushing out, even in Modern Warfare, which they lied to us from the very get-go, they said it's only cosmetics, that is all. And then they released all this bullshit for the guns, and they're like, all the guns are the same. Well, that XM LAR or whatever it's called,
yeah,
that is the best gun in the game. It's the best assault rifle.
And
it is the ACR with more damage.
And I would like to see the stats, or not the stats. Yeah, the stats on the chances of getting that gun.
It's probably below 1%.
It's got to be lower than that. Even lower than lower. I mean, it's got to be, because 1% would, well, I guess that would mean you'd get it if you bought 100 boxes, which I don't know if I've bought 100.
Statistically, you would get it, but it doesn't mean you would.
Right. So I think it started with Black Ops 3 because, you got the HG40, but I have 4 days, roughly 4 days played in multiplayer.
You have 15 more hours than I do.
Yeah, roughly 4 days played in Call of Duty Black Ops 3 multiplayer. And I have one additional weapon to show for it. And I want to do the math and figure out how many tokens I've gotten, or black market tokens, and how many boxes I've bought. But I've played 4 days, and I have one weapon to show for it, and it's a wrench. And the only reason I got that is because they gave you that one box that you automatically got a weapon in.
Yeah.
So I've never gotten,
I think I got a pipe.
Yeah. So it's it's you have to pay to buy it, and then you have to pay to win, basically. I mean, not that the weapons are game changers necessarily, but you have to pay to get things that complete the game.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think it's ridiculous.
See, Black Ops 3, it didn't make me as mad as it does in Modern Warfare Remastered. I feel like Infinite Warfare does it the best because you don't get new guns. We got that one gun for free. I don't know if they've added any new weapons that you'd have to pay to get. The only difference is the variants in weapons. Your base weapons are good enough. The variants are just better versions of them. So it's not like someone has a different gun than you, but technically they do have a different gun. And if you're in 9 times out of 10, if you're in a 1v1 with somebody and they have, for the NV4, if they have the flatline, you're going to lose. Maybe not at close distance. At close distance, the normal one would win because the fire rate is different. I've had it many times where I've hit all my bullets on somebody at the same time they've been hitting me, and I've lost just because the fire rate is 5% lower or whatever, because I don't know how to do the math for those bars. But the flatline, you can legit snipe people with it because it has not only full range, it's infinite range. So I could hit somebody from a corner of the map to the other corner of the map on the longest map in the game, and it would still have the same damage output and the same range.
Yeah.
So at that point, it becomes unfair, but it's not game changing. And in Black Ops 3 it didn't make me mad because the game was actually good enough to where it didn't matter. I didn't care if I had those guns because every single gun in the game is better than the guns in Infinite Warfare. All those guns are perfect for a specific type of playstyle. The thing that makes me mad in Modern Warfare is, and I love the game. It may seem like I hate it from because I'm bashing it so much, but there's only like 8 guns, and 3 of them are good, maybe 4, and they add, I think, 5 new weapons
Well, the new weapon they added is trash.
in Modern Warfare.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Infinite Warfare.
No, yeah. So they have the MP10 or MC10 Mac or Mac 11. No, that's wrong too. That submachine gun. That's like the mini Uzi. I don't care. The new sniper rifle I heard is pretty good. It's kind of like the intervention. And then you have the Kamachikapaka shotgun or whatever it's called. That gun is a game breaker. It's like a fully automatic shotgun. Do you remember I think it was A12 or AA12? It's like
Was that in Modern Warfare 2?
Yeah. The best freaking shotgun ever. Yeah, that's in Modern Warfare Remastered, and that I've been molested by that gun so many times. It's not even funny. But if that's the worst you can say about a game, then I guess that's all right. I don't know. It's still kind of annoying, but it's not like game breaking.
Yeah, I mean the whole loot box thing is a nuisance. It doesn't ruin a game, but I think it's just another, like we were talking about DLC, I think it's just another cheap way for people to make money because they know people are going to spend money on it.
It's the whales of the group.
Yeah.
Because there's people like me and you who won't spend any money, just praying to God that one day we'll be able to get it, which we never will. And the whales of the group are the type of people who, and I don't blame them for it because me and you, on average, we probably buy, I don't know, 4 or 5 games a year, if not more. So that's where our money is going. For these kids that only play Call of Duty or only play 2K, if they want to spend $100 in that game, and if that's the only game they play, then I mean, go for it because you're still spending less money than me and you are.
Yeah.
They're getting the same experience over and over again, but if you're fine with that, go for it. I'm not the type of person who can do that.
Yeah, I never get so invested in one game that I'll spend money to be better at it than somebody.
I did when I was younger and I didn't have money. Like Modern Warfare 2, I probably have 10 days played, but that's because I was 16, I was in school and working 30 hours.
No, I mean buying loot boxes. Like
Yeah, I know. I was saying that that's the only time I was ever like fully invested in one game only.
I mean, I'll put a lot of time into a game,
but I also sprinkle in other games.
Yeah. I don't ever just turn on my PS4, Call of Duty Black Ops 3. And if I don't have the same gun that other guy does, I'm spending money to get it. I don't ever think that way.
Oh my God, that's the gambler mindset.
I'll get pissed about it, but I'll just turn the game off and put in something else.
The only time I notice the guns is when someone else has it and they're killing me.
Yeah.
And it's all I see is in the kill cam and them just saying a big F you.
But I guess the good thing about us, like you just said, is we have other games we like.
Yeah.
So we don't have to just play Call of Duty and be like, oh, I don't have that gun, so I'm just going to buy packs till I get it.
Yeah. So, all in all, to end this segment, if that's the worst we have to deal with, then we're fine. But it's still it's still a thing that we shouldn't have to deal with. I understand why they do it because games cost more than they did back when they made games on PS3 and the more expensive graphics, and you have to have more people working. So they're probably most games are breaking even, and you need DLC to make extra money and this and that. I understand that, but there's games out there who are taking advantage of that system. Overwatch did it perfectly. They were just lucky enough that their game is a big success. But they had the right mindset from the get-go. Everything's free for the people who don't want to pay. Call of Duty is like, they're just going upon it the wrong way. And I guess they have been doing it from the get-go since Call of Duty 4 first came out with the map packs. And I understand that making those new maps takes time and resources and effort. But there becomes a time when you're giving someone content to pay for and when you're taking advantage of that person paying for the content.
Yep.
So
there's a big difference.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on to our next topic, which is the Nintendo Switch, the new console that Nintendo released this past March. Going to talk a little bit about the games that we've seen that one of us has played extensively so far,
Yeah, too much.
and just kind of talk about it, what we think about the console and the games overall. So I'll pass it off to you because you have the most experience with it.
I bought the Switch day one. I wasn't planning on doing it just for the sole fact of there not really being much out there for it. And it's probably the gladdest I've ever, or
Happiest?
the happiest I've ever been buying a console on day one, just for the sheer fact of, yes, there's not a lot of games out for it, but the games that are out on it are fantastic. And yes, there are a lot of ports of other games that have already been released and stuff. But some of those games I've never played before. So like Shovel Knight, I would never have played that on the PS4. I don't even know if it got released for the PS4. But like, I don't play those types of games. And just the fact of it being a handheld, well, it's a hybrid console, but I've probably, if I had to say that I put 60 hours on the Switch, maybe 58 hours of it have been handheld. And on Zelda right now, I'm sitting at probably 50 hours, maybe just a little bit below it. And that is probably the most I've ever put in that's by far the most I've ever put in a handheld game, but in just a single player game. I think the second most is Skyrim, and I'm sitting maybe at like 46 hours on that. And Zelda is it's a fantastic game. There's basically no story unless you do specific things, but it's how open the world is. If you can see it, you can go to it. And I understand there's a lot of games that have been like that, like The Witcher and Skyrim, but on Skyrim, you're not meant to climb the mountain. You're meant to go up a specific path. You basically have to glitch run up a mountain if you don't want to go up the path. On here, you can climb. And I know it sounds like a stupid thing to like get so excited about, but like you can get to anywhere. There's hundreds of shrines, maybe 100 shrines, I don't know. And those shrines are like mini puzzles. And they give you a small breather in the gameplay because a lot of the enemies are just super freaking hard to kill. And it almost seems like you're too weak. And then you learn how to attack those specific enemies. And once you learn all that stuff, you just get better at the game. And that's like the fun about it is when you first start off, it doesn't hold your hand. And I know that's why I was dogging Mass Effect earlier, but this game does it better because there's no set objective. You could legit, after the first 20-minute tutorial or however long it is, you could go fight Ganon. You could go beat the main boss if you wanted to, and there's people who beat the game in like 52 minutes. And that's what I love about it the most. You can do anything you want. It is legit like a 100% open world game. And I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10 because, like I said, there's no story. But, I mean, it's probably one of the better games I've ever played.
So what do you think about the Switch as a console overall so far? Because I know there were a lot of people who had issues with the Joy-Cons, had issues with the dock scratching their screen, which I don't know if you've had that issue because you said you mostly play handheld, so this probably hasn't been in the dock very much.
Yeah.
But just overall.
So far, there's no functionality of the Switch. There's no online. There's no virtual console. So all that stuff that was supposed to basically be on it is not on here. So you kind of have to dock points off for that. But if you're basing it solely off the console itself, it is probably one of the coolest pieces of tech I've ever had. I haven't ran into any Joy-Con issues whatsoever. My left Joy-Con works perfectly fine. I don't know if I'm just lucky or if it's because I always play it as a handheld, so it's always connected, that I never have the Joy-Con issues. The farthest my console has been away from my controllers is 10 feet, and that's because I was playing 1-2 Switch at a family thing. 1-2 Switch is one of the games I want to talk about. It is not worth the money. The only reason I got it was because we wanted a party game. That's the only one they have. think the most I would want to pay for it is $20. $50 is way too steep. It was a waste of money. The games are not good enough to solidify that $50. But I love the consoles or the controllers. They seem small, but when you finally get used to how they work, they fit perfectly inside your hands. I don't know if that's because I have average sized hands, but
So do you feel like you if you were going to play on a screen, would you need the Pro controller, or is the controller that comes with it good enough?
I don't think I need the Pro controller because I never played on the TV. And when I did, the controller that comes with it that you can put the Joy-Cons in, it's good enough. People complain that the buttons are too small, but like again, I said I have average size hands, so I don't know if it fits perfectly. But so far, if you just base it solely off of what it has right now, it's very impressive. I think once they get the virtual console on there and you can play GameCube games, or I think N64 games are also coming. I think that, well, maybe that's already there. I haven't been a Nintendo fan before this really, and I think it's probably for $300. It's a perfect price point. Um, I have a cloth on my dock to try to help from my screen getting scratched whenever I did put it in there. So no, I haven't had any issues with that. Um, the games that are on it so far, they're all right. I'm waiting for Mario Kart because I never played Mario Kart really. I think I played maybe 2 hours of it, so I haven't had really any experience with that. And being able to play that on the go is what I'm really looking forward to most. And that's the thing I love about this is it is all on the go experience. There's nowhere else you can really get that. The 3DS was great, which you have one as well, so the games on there are good. They're not graphically powerful, and this is I don't know how many more times powerful than the 3DS, but it's a perfect thing to have because yeah, the PS4 and Xbox One they're better consoles than this, but Nintendo games are so special and they put care into their games. You're not going to have a day one update. Their games are perfect on release. You're not going to have any issues with anything that they have, and their games have so much merit to them. That's why they can have like a Super Smash Brothers because people like their characters. Well, you can't have like an Xbox Smash Brothers because what are you going to have like Halo and
Master Chief and Marcus Phoenix.
yeah,
It's basically just like 20 of the same characters.
yeah, but you not being a Nintendo fan for long, you can name like 10 Nintendo characters like it's nothing. That's how popular their characters are. And like I said, being able to play it on the go and it being like a legit handheld, because they say this thing is as powerful as the PS3. It's probably more powerful, but
Out of all the games you've played, what do you think the best is, other than Zelda, obviously?
well, if I didn't choose Zelda, I have Shovel Knight, Treasure Trove, which is basically like the Game of the Year edition of Shovel Knight. I have 1-2 Switch, which I don't like at all. I wouldn't even throw that in here. I have Snipper Cliffs, which is one of those secret games on here that I feel like not many people are going to pick up and play, but it's the best experience that you're going to have because when you take off the Joy-Cons, you can instantly make it a 2-player game, and it's the perfect game for that because you could be hanging out with a friend or you could have your girlfriend play with you, and you legit just pop them off, you hand them a controller, and you're both playing it, and it's cute little fun puzzle games. And I feel like that's, other than Zelda, it's the best game they have so far. And then I have Fast RMX, which is like a Wipeout racing game. It's good. It's fun. It's worth the $20. So I definitely say Snipper Clips is the best other than Zelda, just for the sheer fact that it's one of those games that anyone can pick up and play and have fun. So
it sounds like overall you've liked the experience with the Switch.
yeah, I would definitely tell people if they're sitting there thinking, should I spend my $300 on this or just save the money and wait for a later release? I would say if you have enough money to get the Switch and get Zelda, I would do it because Zelda is going to give you as much as an experience as any other game would. I think it's the best launch game that's ever come out with any console.
Sweet.
the last topic we have is games we are looking forward to and what games we passed up on to get the games that we actually do have. So I'm gonna let you kind of start this off. And
So over the past couple months, 2 months or so, three major games that I was sort of excited for released, not including the Switch. I'm not going to talk about that because I haven't bought one yet, so that doesn't count. But Mass Effect Andromeda, Horizon Zero Dawn, and Ghost Recon Wildlands. So me and you played the beta or the tech test for Ghost Recon Wildlands.
Yep.
We had fun with it, but ultimately we decided not to get it day one. That might be a game that I get eventually. You know, the tech test was fun.
I feel like it's the Division for us. We waited a couple months until
Yeah.
shit was figured out.
Yeah, the Division ended up being a lot of fun, even though a lot of people didn't like it. And then Horizon Zero Dawn, which a lot of people might think it's silly to pass up on, but I didn't really do much looking into that game, so I didn't really get hyped for it like everyone else did. But you know, because I was just really looking forward to Mass Effect, because I knew a lot of people liked the first three, even though I didn't play them much. So I got really hyped about that game. So I picked that up instead. But Horizon Zero Dawn, after watching stuff now and seeing the reviews and everything, I definitely think I'll get that, you know, sometime soon after I beat Mass Effect. And I still need to complete The Witcher,
Which is an unbeatable game.
yeah, I still need to get as far as I can in that. So I've got a lot of stuff on my plate now, but I think I'll definitely get Horizon Zero Dawn eventually. But for now, I've passed up on it. And then I guess my ultimate pass so far would be the Switch, and that's not even because I don't want it. That's just
There's nothing really driving you to get one.
yeah. Like I want to play Zelda, but you know, I kind of want to wait a little bit till they maybe drop the price a little bit.
Kind of
Get the
rub out the kinks.
yeah, roll out the kinks. Because I got the PS4 day one, and I don't regret it. But you know, there weren't many games, you know, so I had to wait. And I'm the type of person that I play a game for a while, and I switch to another game, and I never really complete a game. So like just having Zelda for me would be a little like I can't just play one game nonstop for a long time. I know a lot of people can, but I kind of like to have multiple games.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to wait till they release more for that. But I'll definitely be getting a Switch sometime this year. I would say games I'm looking forward to: Destiny 2 for sure. Played the first one. Didn't play any of the DLCs because I got so I guess burnt out on it before they released the new, you know, the Taken King and what was it called? House of Wolves or
Yeah, that kind of DLC wasn't worth it. The Taken King was worth it because I played the vanilla. It was all right. When I beat the game, it really upset me because the final boss is final boss is. I think you face like three of the same characters. They were like the same bosses that you played the whole game.
yeah. So that's why I got kind of burnt out because I just played original Destiny before any DLC, anything. It just felt like and I enjoyed it. But toward the end, it was just like, you know, I think the final boss was like the same thing I'd fought multiple times, just like stronger. So I was like, you know, I beat it, sold it, and then got wrapped up in another game and just never got back into Destiny. But I definitely think I'll get into Destiny 2.
Well, especially if you get into it at the same time.
Yeah.
Because not multiplayer, the co-op about that game is what makes it great.
Mm-hmm. And then, you know, obviously the new Call of Duty, even though we've trashed it so much in this episode, it's been leaked. They're going to go back to World War II. So I think that'll be cool. Definitely looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to Zelda when I buy a Switch and get to play it. Mario Odyssey, which they talked about when they did the press conference or whatever you want to call it, when they formally announced.
Yeah, that game looks phenomenal.
Switch. Yeah.
It looks like a Mario Zelda.
Yeah. Mario Kart 8, the remaster, I guess they're gonna
Deluxe, I think it's what it's called.
They're gonna call it for the Switch. That'll be cool. Obviously, I'm always looking forward to not to be that guy, but I'm always looking forward to Madden because I'm a big football fan. So, off the top of my head, those are the games that I'm really looking forward to. I think there's a new Elder Scrolls game coming out.
They're saying that this year is. I don't know if it's this year or the next year, but they're going back to the Elder Scrolls saga.
Yeah,
which would be fantastic.
I've never been a huge Elder Scrolls gamer. I played Oblivion, and I've messed around with Skyrim here and there, but Elder Scrolls Online, another game that I think a lot of people played, but it was just kind of disappointing for me at the start. So I kind of put it down. I never got back into it. But I think if they release a new Elder Scrolls game, I'd probably get into that. So
Well, and the good thing for you is since you're picking up a Switch later, you will get to, if you wanted to, you could play Skyrim.
Mhm.
And the cool thing about the Switch, again, and I hate going back to it, but they're releasing the 2K for it. So those are games that you could play on this now. And you can do, like I said, you can do it on the go. And that's the kind of cool thing about it. Um, I'm the same with you. Destiny 2 looks really cool if they can do what they say they're going to do with it.
well, I think just from like I said, I never played any of the DLCs for the original game, but from what I've heard, it's just gotten better and better.
Taken King's amazing.
Yeah, is it Taken King the most recent one?
I think Iron something.
Oh,
is.
Rise of Iron.
Yeah.
So I've heard as of Rise of Iron, it's like what Destiny should have been at release day. It's like amazing. I have friends on my PSN friends list that play it every night religiously. So, that gets me pumped for Destiny 2 because I feel like it's going to be like what I wanted Destiny 1 to be like. So I'm definitely excited for that. Are there any games you passed up on other than...
Wildlands is basically the only real one I passed up on. If you want to talk about kind of like last year as well, I passed up on the Bioshock collection, which is my favorite series of all time, which I had recently just got, so that's kind of like redundant to say. But I would have to say I didn't pass up on it, but Madden, the latest one, I bought it, but I never played it, and then I sold it, and now I really want it. That's the problem. So I consider that a pass on because I had it, but I never got into it like I had past Maddens. And it's just because it's one of those things where everyone gets in a certain phase where you really want to play a shooter, you really want to play a sports game, and at that point in time, a sports game was not appealing to me.
Mhm.
I had other things. I was into The Witcher, which I waited super late to play that, and then I was into Doom, which was that was one of those breakout games last year, which I did not think was going to be as good as it was. And I know you just picked up Doom not too long ago, and you think the same. So when I think of passing up on games, I think of games that I didn't want to get at first, and then I kind of got them or got them by accident, and I really love them at the end. So basically, that's like my passing up. Other than that, hasn't really been anything that's out there, and I'm like, ooh, I really want to get that, but maybe not. So
I would say the only game that I got a chance to try and passed up on by choice is Wildlands. And that was just because it was fun, but it was a little underwhelming, I guess.
yeah,
They released a tech test, like I said.
and me and you play a lot of that tech test. I think we were near 100%,
Yeah, so
like
it was
doing
fun.
everything in that game.
It was fun, but I didn't find myself missing it. Like after I played it, I wasn't like, oh man, I can't wait for the full game to come out. I felt like I kind of got the full experience. And I know that sounds ridiculous to say, but I kind of felt like I got the full experience from the tech test.
Yeah,
And I felt the same way about Titanfall,
yeah,
which I eventually ended up getting. And even once I got that, the full game, I didn't play it very much because they released a tech test and I played the crap out of it. And I was just like, I didn't find myself missing it. It kind of like I was very curious about it, and then it kind of solved it for me. So, but Horizon Zero Dawn, I would say I didn't pass up on purpose. That was just one of those games that kind of flew under the radar for me, but I'll definitely be getting it.
yeah. I forgot about that game. Yeah, I was going to get that game until I decided I wanted to get a Switch.
Yeah.
And then obviously resources had to go all into one pile instead of that. I regret not getting it, but it's still one of those things where it's not like it's going away.
Yeah.
I can always buy it. And people compare it a lot to Zelda, like a better version of Zelda. So if that's the case, and I'm really looking forward to it, and who knows, I may get it soon. I have multiple games I want to beat, though. I have only beaten the first Bioshock. I still need to play the second one, which I never got to play. I have beaten Infinite multiple times, but I still want to beat that again, just kind of to be able to go through the whole trilogy and try to piece together things that like you're supposed to see. Once I do that, I want to beat Mass Effect in between doing that as well. Once I beat those two, there's nothing really coming out in the next, I don't know, couple months that stands out. So that's probably when I'll pick up Horizon. And when I do, I know I won't be disappointed from what from what I've heard. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how that's going to turn out.
All right. Well, thanks for listening to this podcast. Tune in once a week for sports and once a week for games.
I just like the simple.